Hello, friends. This is Jonathan Medina. Welcome to the first and maybe, probably, only episode of Magic Finance Method. And I've written quite a bit about Magic Finance in the past. I haven't really been on the scene lately in a public way, but I'm always in the background doing things. And I'm working on a little experiment with my friend. My friend likes to invest in stocks. He knows that I know Magic pretty well, and from back in the day when I used to talk a lot about Magic Finance, he knows that I have an understanding of that, and he wondered if he could put some money into investing in Magic cards and get some similar returns that he's getting on his stocks. And so I told him I'd help him out with that, and we have our money in a bunch of stuff. Uh, we've got a stack of cards, and now I'm looking for a new card or two, maybe three, to buy, and not a large amount of money, a couple $100. I'm looking to buy in on some cards, and so I was gonna do this anyways. I was basically gonna go and do what I typically do when it's time to let's see which card I wanna pick up, and I figured why not record it for you to watch. And you might like this, you might not. Maybe you're not even listening anymore. And if that's the case, I'm glad that you're on doing something else that and you enjoy. But for the rest of you, let's dig in. So you have to pick a place to start, right? One thing I don't like to do is I don't like to if you go to MTG stocks and you go to interest, it's going to tell you the cards that have gone up recently. So you'll see here, Kismet, went up 34% from $3 to $4. That's probably because of an old school demand, there's a format 9394, I think it's 9394 or old school, and they play only cards that were printed in that year. And so, you can only play with the cards that were from those sets. So, even though Kismet, I think, has been printed in other sets, the Legends one is the older one, the one that went up. So, anyways, you can look at this stuff and you can try to buy these things. Now, that's one way you can do it, okay? But if stuff is already going up in price, then there's a lot of danger in buying cards at this point because it could be at this point where it's ready to go down. People might not ship the cards because they feel like it's spiking and it's not fair, and that's a whole nother topic. So you could look at this stuff, the regulars and the foils, and say, "Oh, I'm going to chase these." I don't recommend that, and I'm not going to talk a lot about why right now. I just don't think that's a good idea. So what I like to do is I like to get ahead of things. I like to look for cards that have a good amount of stock, um, that are not, that the demand is constant. The demand is constant, but it's not overwhelming, right? Because I'm not looking to buy cards out. That's not my style. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'd like to buy cards with a lot of stock and then just have sit on them for a couple of years. And then when they go up in price and appreciate, I like to just sell them. And so that's kind of what I'm looking for. So what that means is we got to kind of figure out trends. We got to figure out what are the coming trends, what's coming up. This is the secret sauce, the trick to making investments that win big, that windfall. Now, this is kind of more exciting than what I would deem as like normal Magic Finance, or I used to own my own card shop, well, not shop, but online store, and for when I owned that, Magic Finance to me was numbers. It was math. Okay, the math was you buy at between 30 and 70% of what the card's valued at. You sell at 100%. You build customer loyalty, and you build customer confidence, and you do that over and over again. And when you make those margins, you manage that profit in a good way, and you make money. And so back then, there's no, not that it changes, but when you're in that context, when you're in that setting, there is no guessing. I don't need to go and guess, oh, what card is going to go up. Nobody cares. When you're just buying them at 30 to 50, 30 to 70%, you're already buying them at like half price, ish. And so you don't need for a card goes up immediately once you buy it at buy list price. because you get to sell it at full price. So it kind of takes all the guesswork out of the Magic Finance. You just know, here's what I'm moving, here's what I'm selling, and I'm just going to go and stock that, and then I'm going to make a profit. Um, and so I think that's true. Like Magic Finance, I think that if you want to be successful at this, the true thing is just to buy things at buy list and then sell them at a at a reputable through a reputable brand. I think that's the best way to do it. Um, there's also money to be made with smaller margins in buying things that really lower than buy list and then buy listing them out to people who are bigger than you. So you just kind of feel like a middleman position. That's also a position in Magic Finance, quote unquote. Um, but today we're going to do something more fun. We just guess, right? Kind of make some educated guesses at what will go up, and and then we buy into that. Now you might ask, like, well, why would you take your friend's money and do these guessing things when you know that for sure you can just do this math situation and be way better off, right? So like if I took my friend's money and I bought at buy list price and then sold at full retail, then there would be like I would obviously make some percentage, right? That would easily equal that. Well, the reason I don't do that is because of time. I don't have the time to manage a brand, uh, to to um, to build that customer confidence, to give the customers what they actually need. You know, nicely graded cards, shipped on time. Um, you know, uh, all that kind of stuff. And then also with the buying side, being competitive in your buy list prices. Lots of research goes into that. Lots of stuff. So it's really to do it well, and I only want to do it well. It takes a lot of time, and I don't have the time. So instead, what we're going to do is we're going to buy some bets, and then we're going to sit on them and let them appreciate. And it's not as scary because I've been doing this for a long time. So I've seen cards rise and I've seen them fall, and I know kind of what kind of cards would do that. So what we're looking at today is trends. Um, so I look for different trends. If a format is taking off, I want to start picking up cards before that format starts getting really popular and big. And I think we have a kind of a chance to look at that potential in the Commander one versus one format. So Wizards is really doing a lot of support for the Commander one versus one format. There's a lot of deck lists online. You can look at these different content sites, and you start to see that people are writing articles about Commander one versus one. Let's see if we can find one here. Here we got one versus one combo with side of fries by Rachel, and then I believe there was a yep. Here's a video series from Frank Lepore, one versus one Commander. Um, see if there's any. These are the big kind of content sites, and the reason I look at these content sites is see, look at this Mucha Brew Baral Polymorph one versus one Commander. So right on the front page of a lot of these big content sites, um, see if we got anything from Gathering Magic here. You start to see all this one versus one Commander stuff, and that what that means is you have to think of it like, the hive mind, the people who are buying and playing Magic, they're looking at these sites for content. And when they start seeing one versus one Commander all over the place, it starts to really it starts to get them wanting to play one versus one Commander. And playing on MTGO isn't always um, possible for people. It isn't always enjoyable, and so they're looking to build some of these decks in paper. Now, not now, if I were to just bet on one versus one commander, right, that might be a bad bet, okay? Because I don't see anything here on Star City. That's strange. Um, but that might be a bad bet if I bet on that format because that format might die out like Tiny Leaders or something, even though Tiny Leaders didn't have the Wizards buy-in that one versus one commander has. So what we're looking for here. So we're looking for multiple layers of protection. Okay. We're looking for cards that are in these one versus one commander decks. Okay. That also could be playable in commander. Because what's happening right now is we're really coming to a place back in the day with EDH was one of the best uh, places to invest in Magic cards. And the reason was because there was there's not a lot of information about EDH out there. So information traveled very slowly by organic transfer. What that means is you're playing EDH at the table with a friend of yours, and then you see a combo or you see a card that goes really well in that deck, and you say, "Oh well, I'd like to get that." And so that happens a number of times, like a lot of times, and then those cards start to raise to the top of the list, and and EDH starts to homogenize. But the homogenization of EDH is so much slower because there's not a lot of content. Well, there wasn't a lot of content. I mean, content is for multiplayer EDH has been, it's booming right now. But there was a time where there was not a lot of that content, and but now we're even getting to the point where in this current, like in today's day and age, um, we have now this one versus one commander, which is just this is the grinding. This is basically, open source deck building right here. Everybody just putting their edits on this. Building these decks, and so you're starting to see what cards stand up, right? There's one versus one commander, which is different than multiplayer, but still a good place to look for cards that might be good in commander. So we have this information coming on. We have EDH Rec, which you can put any commander's name in, and you start to see cards that, this is crawling all kinds of data on the internet, and they're telling you which cards are the best, which cards not maybe not the best, but by, you know, by by implication, that's the word I'm looking for. By implication, which cards are best because these are the cards that are in the most decks. So we have rewind in the most decks. This is because you get a mana, a mana. You go plus in your mana with this because if you have Brawl out, it takes 3 mana, but you untap 4, and so you see these are obvious choices. So with this information, what we're going to start seeing is that the homogenization of EDH is starting to occur, and even more so now. And what you're going to start to see is card prices will spike faster because the information will be more available for people. So now what I'm doing is I'm thinking I'm going to look for cards in these lists that are shocking to me, that they're not cards I really like this one. I haven't seen this in a lot of EDH decks. Um, and let's see what the rating on EDH Rec is. We want a card with kind of a low rating on EDH Rec. We want something that has not really been explored, because the cards that are explored are already starting to be worth money because people are playing. The more people who play it, the more demand. The whole finance thing that goes into it. So what we're looking for is 464 decks is not a lot of decks. Staples, they land about 10,000 decks. So anything that's like a staple in multiple archetypes and stuff like that, you're looking at like 10 to 12,000. This is 400. Let's see, choose left to right, starting with you and proceeding in the chosen direction. Each player chooses a creature controlled by the next player in that direction. Each player gains control. Okay. So this is a 1v1 card because you're just kind of swapping creatures, I guess. Let's see. Yeah, because you take one of theirs, they take one of yours. And in the mono blue deck, you have no creatures except for Baral and Emrakul. So, if you're playing in the mirror match, you take their Emrakul, you give them nothing. But in a multiplayer, format, that doesn't really do what you want it to do, I don't think. So even though it's surprising, it's not something we're going to put on the list. Now I look through this stuff quick, you know what I mean? Like I don't. This is another one here, Gainsay. That has an older printing from Plane Shift, and you can get a Plane Shift foil of that. So that might be something. Oh, maybe that's something to put on the list. But I feel like this is more for the 1v1 because blue is so prominent in 1v1. That Gainsay does some work, but we don't. I don't want that for my listing because, like I said, I don't want to bet on 1v1. I want 1v1 to show me cards that are good in multiplayer, and then I want to keep those. That's what I'm looking for. make a big list of those. And then there's another side of this. Once you find a card, hopefully we find one, these are all kind of stock lists, nothing super surprising. Once you find a card, you got to do some research, you know. We're hitting like 15 minutes on this video, so I think the first card we find, we're going to do some research on it, and then I'll probably close this video because I don't know, man, this 20 minutes, 30 minutes, like how long do you want to do this? I mean, this is really boring for people who are not interested in Magic Finance. I like cards like this, Eldritch Evolution. This is a card, it's good in single player EDH. It's good in multiplayer EDH. It's a newer card, which I like because newer cards have a lot of stock. Look at this is in 3,700 decks. $2.79. Let's take a look at what's going on TCG Player. Newer cards have a lot of stock. This card is going to be when this rotates out of standard, it'll probably go down. So that might be a good time to pick up a handful of copies of this. Um, I wonder. I wonder what decks. I think this is in a modern deck too. Yeah, see, here we go. It's in modern decks, different modern decks. Sahili combo deck, Green White Vizier deck, which is a big deal right now. Um, so the fact that this has legs in other formats too, right? It's not only in EDH, it's also in these modern decks. Yeah, here's one. It's a one of, but still, not too shabby. $1.74. Lots of copies. Look at that. 400 people have this for sale. Um, so this is something that I think, a card that you can buy, sit on for a couple years, wait for the supply to dry up, and then re-enter the market. How much would this be, in the future? Let's see. As an additional cost, you got to sacrifice a creature. Search your library for a creature card with a converted mana cost X or less. So you sacrifice something big, you can get anything in your deck. Where X is 2 plus the sacrifice of this creature's cost. Okay, so even better. It adds to the cost. Put that creature onto the battlefield. So it's a tutor that requires a creature, and it puts it in play. Um, I try to think about cards that have an analog. Like, what would the analog be to this card? It's not a birthing pod because it's not repeatable. Um, it's not like a traditional tutor like worldly tutor because it puts it in play. And so the thing about this card as well that it has going for it is it gets better with every creature that is printed in Magic because it just gets creatures. So there might be a green creature, or it doesn't have to be a green creature, but since this is double green, it's in decks that have primarily green. Um, I mean, in EDH you can splash it in other formats too, but it's like there could be a green, a certain kind of creature that this interacts really favorably with and enables a great combo. I mean, there's already plenty of creatures like that, but so $1, yeah. So probably I'd want to buy this at like 75 cents after rotation. Um, and then what I probably expect from this, see, that's where I'm looking for the analog to see what could I expect. Um, let's just take a look at these cards down here, see if we can see anything that would jog like some kind of similar. See, like, look at there's birthing pod, like I said. It's not repeatable, and birthing pod is one of the things we could do with birthing pod is we can say birthing pod is better. Okay, so birthing pod is better. So the price of birthing pod would presumably be higher than this at its highest, right? Because with birthing pod we're already mature. Birthing pod is mature. That means it's been out of print, out of the cycle there for a while. Um, The only problem with that is that Birthing Pod is banned in Modern. So if Birthing Pod was not banned in Modern, it would probably be, 15 dollars. So we know that this will probably never hit, at least at this stage of, if this card was as mature as Birthing Pod, it wouldn't be $15. So we know the ceiling is, between $8 and 15. You know, Quarter Calling is another kind of analog in a way. Green Sun Zenith, that's the other thing, is Green Sun Zenith is banned in Modern, but Quarter Calling is not. This is played as a 4 of, though. This is played as a 1 of in Modern, and this does see play in EDH as well. Um, but this is $11, so we know, you know, the ceiling for this would be that's the same, kind of falls in that $11. I think you're looking at like probably a $5 to $6 card in the future when it's as mature as, Court of Calling. That's 2 years, right? The Court of Calling from 2015. It's been reprinted. When it's mature as Birthing Pod, $5 or $6. So we'll put that on the list, because if we can get them at 75 cents and then sell them at $5 or $6, then you're looking at shipping. If you ship with a stamped envelope, it's, looking like 50 cents or whatever that is. And then you're also looking at fees. If you sell for $6, you have the 15% fees, um, which is like 90 cents, which is dollar 50. So you say $2 off that, you get $4. You make $3 a piece, which is not bad on 75-cent investment. It's small money, but that's what this whole Magic Finance thing is, right? A bunch of small money. The other cool thing is if you get them at, you know, you get them at 75 cents and then they go up to $6, you could just buy list them for 350, and then just buy list 100 of them. You go from $75 to $350. All right, so I think that's good for this episode. 22 minutes, man. I don't even know if you guys are going to be sticking around. If you made it past this, if you made it to this point, great. Now that all the preferences are done, or the prefaces are all set, we're gonna jump back in because I'm gonna still be looking. I am doing this. I'm looking for stuff. So I'll just make another video, and if the first one is successful, then I'll just publish the second one. So the second one is just gonna be me starting again, digging through these decks, see what we can find. I'll talk to you later. Bye bye.